Hello.
Hello.
We are Loops and Lap Bars.
And we are here today at Heide Park in Germany.
Yes, this is the first of the foreign Merlin owned parks, so we're looking forward to seeing how it works compared to Alton Towers and Thorpe Park and the like. We have got into the park, as you can see, and first impressions are that it feels very much like a cross between Alton Towers and Thorpe Park, in that it's got Alton Towers style rides, and yet it's got Thorpe Park style theming in places. There's a lot of what look like the park rangers.
Park rangers,
dotted around. So it almost makes me feel like I'm in Thorpe Park in the 80s and 90s. Despite the fact I've never been to Thorpe Park in the 80s and 90s. It's a weird thing, but yeah, anyway. So we started off our day on Desert Race, which is, for all intents and purposes, Rita. Which is not a bad thing. I like Rita at Alton Towers. I don't think Desert Race is as good as Rita, because it feels, and this is going to sound really daft, it feels sharper and more and smooth compared to the likes of Rita.
Yeah, it doesn't, for me, it didn't have as much kick on the launch as what Rita does. Like the launch on our Rita properly throws you. This one is just like, it's going fast.
It is the same speed as Rita. It's pretty much exactly the same. The exit's a little bit different as you come off the ride sort of thing. But it was fine.
The final brake run is a lot smoother though on Desert Race than what it is on Rita, so they've got that going for it. And the control panel's in a helicopter.
So
which is really, really
it's very cool. And once again, it's like Alton Towers crossed with Thorpe Park, because the Swarm has its control booth in a in a themed sort of area, exactly the same as Desert Race is here. Anyway, next up was Toxic Garden. Which is a Vekoma SLC, exactly the same as Iron Claw and Infusion. And it's exactly the same as Iron Claw and Infusion, apart from the fact it's better themed and sounds better.
It's got a bit of smoke in there, which is really good, and it doesn't seem to be as jerky as what Iron Claw was. The ride today was a lot more comfortable. Now that could have been because we were one of the first trains on, and it's not properly warmed up yet, or whether it just is a smoother train and car and track in general. So,
it's one of those things you roll the bones when you go on a Vekoma SLC, and that one wasn't too bad. It was sort of batty about a little bit, but it weren't too bad. And then we went on Demon Gruft. I think that's how you pronounce it, but basically it's Demon Crypt from what we understand. And it's a very similar ride to Curse at Alt Manor, but a completely different take on the idea of like a horror-themed dark ride. Because Curse used to, you got scenes and then you go into dark sections and it feels like it's unfinished. This, you go into scenes and there are dark sections and it feels like they're done on purpose.
And it's pitch black in there. You can't see in some of the sections. Now the car moves very, very, very slowly, which, like, first time round you do it like we did, just like, ooh, this is a little bit unnerving. Because it's dark, expecting something to pop out. And it kind of doesn't. So it's a really, really interesting take. Smells like one of the horror mazes that they do for Scarefest as well. But it's a really, really well themed ride. The bits they have done in that are really, really well themed. The queue line's well themed. Going into it's well themed. And it's the tiniest station we've ever been in.
It's very cramped in there. But I felt like it didn't quite hit, at least for myself. It was good, but I just it just needed something else. But it's still worthwhile a visit, and that's new for this year anyway. So it's something nice to come out and experience something that the park put out for the first time. And then we had to go on my 200th flat ride, which is Scream. The park's Intamin gyro drop. Now, I've not done a gyro drop before. We were intending to do the one at Movie Park, but just never got round to it. And it is a bit of a squeeze for the tighter person. It seems to have got restraints very similar to Maelstrom at Drake Manor, which makes sense because it looks very similar. Apart from Maelstrom's obviously a pendulum, whereas this is a drop tower. 233 feet drop, and incredibly thrilling.
I've got to say, because I was nervous going on to this, because I'm not the biggest fan of drop towers in the daylight. Give me one in the dark any day of the week, and I'm fine with that. But incredibly smooth on the way up. Unlike sort of Apocalypse and drop towers are the same sort of ilk that can feel a bit jerky on the way up, This didn't. Absolutely butter smooth. And because you're going round, you don't also at the same time notice how high you're going. That was one of the other things. Even though I was up there and I was kind of like, yeah, this is high, you didn't actually realise how far up you were, which was kind of good.
Yeah.
It's not a massive drop tower. And then you kind of get a little pre-release, which I thought was really, really nasty. And then they actually drop you, and it's just like, oh my word.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting about the when you're at the top is I don't think it's necessarily a pre-release. I think it's just the way that the mechanism works.
Yeah.
In that something's obviously decoupling, and you move ever so slightly, you think, oh, and it doesn't, and then you drop. Yeah, really, really well done, really thrilling. It's a drop tower. They all work very similar sort of ways.
Yeah.
I think next we're going to go on Flug Der Demon, which is just here. It's a very
Swarm 2 for 1.
Yeah, it's the Swarm. It's got the same trains as the Swarm.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be better than Phoenix, looking at it, because it does look like it is more, more so than Phoenix. But we'll get on and see what that's like.
Yep.
One of the things that is quite nice about Europe, and I think that we could learn a little bit from in the UK. In the UK, you go to a shop and you have to pay like 10p for your carry bags. In Europe, you have to pay €1 for your drinks cups. So if you keep getting drinks, you end up having to pay €1 every time for your drinks cups, unless you use the reusable cups. You stick it back, can have a drink in that, and they fill it up for a cheaper price. Exactly the same as the freestyle things, but it's not sort of self-serve. And because of that, you're not wasting stuff, and you can take the cup back at the end of the day, get your €1 back, or like we're doing, you can keep it as a souvenir. So I quite like that. I wish that more parks in the UK would do that. I know that Drayton Manor does, but the Merlin parks don't. Flamingo Land doesn't. There's quite a few of them that could learn to do stuff like this. I think it's a really good idea.
Let's go!
So for dinner today, and for €15.50, we're having what is essentially chicken and chips, barbecue flavoured. Tracy's having one with tzatziki and sauerkraut, which I'm going to steal some of that because I've never had it before. Complete with a drink as well. Looks like it's going to be tasty. So dinner was tasty. Yeah, very tasty.
It was, yeah, and very, very filling for what you get. Like, I was struggling with that, and usually I don't struggle with lunch.
Yeah, no, that was just a sort of right amount. Now, you might be able to see something very special in the background. It's Colossus, and Colossus was the main draw for me for this park, and Colossus is shut.
Dave has now been crying all morning because Colossus is shut.
When I looked on the app this morning, Colossus was showing us down for repair, and so was Ghostbusters 5D, which were two of the sort of main attractions. But Ghostbusters has reopened, so there's still time. But it just means you have to come back. Oh dear, didums. Anyway, so the stuff that we have been on, when we last left you, we were going on Flucht der Demon, which I think is how you say, or Flight of the Demon. And
Swarm 2, as it's now affectionately going to be named.
We need to stop doing that, but so it is very comparable to the Swarm. It's almost as though they've taken parts of Swarm and parts of Phoenix and put them together into one ride.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I still think it's better than the Swarm, but I think Phoenix is still better for me. It rides incredibly well. It's a B&M wing coaster that's not Mandrill Mayhem. There's no bounce or anything like that. It's very, very comfortable.
It is, yeah, very comfy. I liked Flug the Demon.
Flug der Demon. Flight of the Demon.
Flight of the Demon, yeah. I really, really liked it. It's a slightly different, a significantly more compact layout than what our Swarm is, but once again, just as comfortable, just as fun, and it's wonderfully themed, which is really, really nice to see.
Yeah, it's got some cool little elements, such as there's a speed hill, and as you go over the speed hill, you go under the sort of the exit building. The cameras are there, and there's like spikes, stakes in the ground, and you're looking at those and you're thinking, oh god, which is pretty nice to see. Once we did that though, we sort of had a little bit of a wander around and fell on Craig.
Did.
Craig is going to be the great sort of equaliser, if you will, because it's not as well themed as Baron, but it is better than Oblivion.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, it's Baron is going to take some beating in terms of theming. However, Craig rides wonderfully. It's a very comfortable, flawless vertical drop coaster that actually does seem to achieve vertical drop into a nice sort of themed pirate ship that's been attacked by a kraken, which is what Craig means in German. And then it's got a proper splashdown.
Yeah, it's one of them rides. It's brilliantly well themed. For me, it's edging out Baron. I didn't think it would, but it has done. I love Craig. The fact that it does a proper hold at the top of the drop, and then essentially you go down into the mouth of the Kraken, pretty much like you see Mr. Johnny Depp do in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah,
is phenomenal, and it's really, really good. And yeah, Craig is now my number one, followed by Oblivion, and then Baron, unfortunately, in quite of a big upset. But as I've said in previous videos, Baron needs more mime.
And that's the only thing I would say with Craig. Its station's brilliant, its queue line's nice, it's got a decent sort of foreboding soundtrack, lovely set piece, but there's just not enough of it.
Yeah.
You do drop, splash down into I think it's an Immelman, then a speed hill, and essentially you're back in the station. So a bit more of it would have been great, but what they have got is excellent anyway. So
Yep.
I think next I'm hoping to get on Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we're wanting to do Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 5D, and then it's just a case of wandering around. We've still got Big Loop to do in terms of the big coasters and Colossus.
Big Loop and the Avalanche as well.
Oh yeah, Bob Ann.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 coasters to do and Ghostbusters. So we'll go and have a go on those and see what they're like.
Yep.
And here we are
in the car.
Yeah, it was a bit action-packed this afternoon because the park advertises a close time of 6 p.m, but the rides close at 5. So for all intents and purposes, the park closes at 5 p.m, which I think is a bit of a swindle, if I'm being completely honest.
It's a bit of a bait and switch.
Yes, not great, but we got done. So after we left you, we said we're going to go on Ghostbusters, and we did indeed go on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And I haven't checked it up, but I believe it's the same ride system as Ninjago and things like that. However, they have improved on that because they've given us guns. Yeah, so you don't have to do any of the stupid hand movements. You can just point and shoot, and it's great. And yeah, it sees you, working as a Ghostbuster, busting ghosts. It feels very much like you're playing Luigi's Mansion, in that you just essentially hold the trigger, point at ghosts on screens, and you score points. It's probably not as in depth as say like Challenge of Tutankhamun or even Popcorn Revenge or something like that. but still great, good fun.
Yeah, and because it's literally put your finger on the trigger, anyone, any age can do it, and still crack up a score.
Yeah, it's the cars move and things like that. So it was probably what I was expecting. It wasn't worse, it wasn't better. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Then after that we had a bit of a wander around the park, taking in the sights and the sounds and things like that. We did eventually end up on Big Loop.
Yep.
Which is the park's really old Vekoma looping coaster, and I was expecting quite a rough ride. I was expecting Goodricks, and what we got was Goodricks Light, I think.
That would probably be the best adaptation for it.
It was very smooth compared to the likes of Goodricks, but it wasn't glass smooth when compared to Python. Despite the fact it takes the same elements, but like Python, its lift hill is incredibly slow. But you do get some proper G-force on them loops.
You do, and it was quite a little fun ride. And when we got on, we were chatting with the ride attendants, and they were like, "Oh, this is quite a scary ride," and like, "Are you afraid?" We're like, "No, we've done worse, we've done bigger." He was like, "Have you done George's Dino in Peppa Pig Land?" Yeah, that ride was terrifying.
And on that, we did do George's Dino. I think that's what it's called, George's Dino. Anyway, it's pretty much exactly the same as the one at Peppa Pig World in the UK,
Park,
but it's a bit longer, and it's not quite as in your face. Sort of Peppa Pig. It was good fun. We only did it because it got a photo on it.
Yes.
So that's George's Dino. So because we were pretty much right there, we've seen, that's got a camera on it as well. We went on Indie Blitz, which is a little sort of junior kids coaster. It's in the
Wild West area.
Western themed area. What was it called? Lucky Town, wasn't it?
Lucky Town.
Yeah, which is a bit of a weird name for a Wild West area. But anyway, I believe it's a Zia Force, so it's got the same sort of seating and design as what Caterpillar Coaster does at Paulton's Park. But yeah, it's a nice little coaster.
Yeah, nice little junior coaster. It's comfortable, snappy as well, and it's got quite a tight helix for a really, really small kids coaster as well, which was quite nice.
It's not going to blow your mind or anything like that, but it's absolutely fine.
Yep.
And then because it wasn't really open at the start of the day, it opens at 12. There's Bob Arm, which we're going to talk about next, which is the park's bobsled coaster, which is somewhere between Avalanche at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Trace du Horror at Parc Asterix. And I say that because it looks and feels like Avalanche, but it sort of operates more like Trace du Horror, in that it's a long bobsled coaster, but it doesn't slow you down. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. It's really quite good fun.
And you don't realise it's got an indoor section and a second lift hill, which is really quite weird but also unique, that you actually get a lift hill into the station.
It's almost like
something we've never had on any ride.
It's almost like they've done it with, like you do on Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you've gone too nuts and you think, now I need to lift hill into the station or something like that. The helix in the dark, that was pretty cool. It was a really nice thing to see on that. So that was Bob Ahn.
So after that, we then went on Groton Blitz, which is essentially, for all intents and purposes, its runaway mine train as at Alton Towers. Only this is slightly longer in its layout. Train's obviously a different colour, and it's got a dark section in which interacts with the monorail of all things, which is absolutely wonderful and quite uniquely weird at the same time.
It's a nice little ride. Is Groton Blitz. I feel like it was better than Alton Towers' mine train. It's still not Colorado Adventure, but it's for a Mack powered coaster, which I'm starting to kind of dislike thanks to the Vekoma mine trains. It was perfectly good fun. It didn't batter you about or anything like that, but it did have a sense of urgency. It did keep going at sort of a decent speed, which leads us nicely on to mountain rapids. Was it?
Yes.
Mountain rafting.
Mountain rafting.
Anyway, they're the park's rapids ride, which is very similar to the UK ones in that they've got the same Intamin style boats with waterfalls, and that's kind of it. But it's a quite lengthy beast, and there's a lot of actual splashing goes on in that. I got quite wet on it.
They've come off quite wet. It's got it's got quite a few water features throughout it as well, which is nice. It is lengthy. The queue to get round to it, if you go from one side though, is quite long. Essentially, you walk halfway around the ride to get into the queue. Yeah,
I feel that was a bit kind of unnecessary, but obviously when you do it once, you do it once. But we went the wrong side from the sounds of it. On the park, you can enter from the desert race side, or you can enter from the centre of the park. We entered from the centre of the park, which for some reason it gives you a really long walk around.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was good fun though. Same as I think it's Valdvossebaan, which is the park's log flume. Nothing really to write home about because there is no theming to it whatsoever.
No, it's a charming little ride, and you can tell it's been built in the 80s and running from the 80s.
Yeah.
But that said, though, once again, you only get splashed on it, you don't get soaked, which is really nice. And I wish more parks would do that with water rides, that you can go on and not have to change clothes with you.
Yeah, I mean, every so often a chapass is great, but you know you don't want to be having the faff, especially with parks like today, where we've had to rush around and get so much done. You want to be able to go on a water ride and not get drenched.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed Valdvossebaan a lot more than what I did the Rapids ride, just because it was over quicker. It did what it did and it got out, whereas the Rapids was a bit on the lengthy side and it was kind of a bit repetitive. Yeah. Waterfalls were cool on it though.
It was, yep.
So the final thing to talk about is kind of like our overall impressions, merchandise and things like that, of Heide Park. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Merlin annual pass. So we have got premium annual passes from the UK. Now you can come over here and you pay, was it 39?
€34.50.
So it's about €35 to essentially upgrade your pass to an annual pass for
German
for Heide Park. And we turned them down on that, and I'm fairly certain that what we should have done really is upgraded one of the passes and used one pass to buy everything, and I'm fairly certain that you would have got the same discounts as what you do in the UK. Can't unfortunately comment on that, but you can't use your regular Merlin annual pass as it is.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of it's kind of what I expected, but kind of a little bit disappointing at the same time, but that's really a sort of a nothing thing.
Yeah.
Next thing is
the size of this park.
Yeah.
We come into this thinking, we're going to get this done in one day. No, this park is big. It's easily a 2-day park. If you've got a big group of you or family, probably look at doing 3 days realistically, if you want to get on everything.
Yeah, we came today and the park was dead.
Yeah.
Because we were looking up buying fast passes, which I'll go into in a moment. But the longest that we queued for was probably 10 minutes for Big Loop or something like that.
Yeah.
But if it had been busy like Alton Towers and you're talking an hour for each ride, then you probably would have trouble getting on multiple things.
But even then, today we've only managed to get on the big stuff that we wanted to do. None of the smaller stuff we've unfortunately touched because the park is just that big.
Yeah, it's that big, and we had quite a lot to do with video. You probably notice from the video that there's quite a lack of content.
Yeah.
And as I said, the fast passes. What I thought was quite interesting is that they don't allow you to buy fast passes on days like today. At the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, when they know it's going to be busy, yes, you can buy fast passes, but not for today. Because I was worried the size of the parks. I'd seen the list of attractions and stuff like that we weren't going to get it all done, and obviously we didn't. Even with fast passes, I think we'd have had trouble getting everything in.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely sort of park to walk around. There's plenty of green space, as you remarked, didn't you? There's lots of seating. Yeah,
there is lots of seating everywhere, so you can bring your granny because there is a bench every 20 foot near enough. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Obviously, because today was a quiet day, there wasn't as many food outlets and drink outlets open, which is a little bit of a shame because the sun did come out and you kind of needed it. But other than that, the food and drink that was on offer was very, very good. It was good value for money. Drinks were slightly more expensive, but they do the reusable cups that a lot of the other parks do, and I think Dave's already spoken about that earlier.
I have done, but you're talking, for a 500ml bottle of Coke for €4.20, which is it's a bit on the pricier side, especially when you compare it to Fantasyland, where they're $3.90. It's only 30 cents more, but Fantasyland's a single park. This is Merlin. But anyway, on to Merlin merchandise.
Yeah.
Merchandise is extensive.
Yes, Merlin UK needs to learn from Heide Park and what it's doing on the continent.
But also, continent needs to learn from what they're doing in the UK.
Yeah.
You bring those two together and you have got the absolute perfect in terms of merchandise. So the reason why we say that is that the UK, extensive pin badge selection. They do have pins here, but our pin badges are better.
Yes.
I feel like our t-shirts and things like that are better quality, and I'm wearing a Wickerman one now from Alton Towers, and that's embroidered. There was very little embroidery in there, but there was quite an extensive selection of t-shirts and shorts and trousers and things like that.
You can pick up jogger bottoms for the ride that you are picking up a t-shirt for. In the Ghostbusters range alone, there must have been 10 different t-shirt varieties in both children's and adults, which is the other good thing. In the vast majority of everything they've got in there, they're going up to 2, 3XL, which is absolutely wonderful to see, and they've got a massive selection of all the sizes as well, so you're not limited to one of each. There's at least 10 of everything in every line, and this is before you're getting to rides that have got 10 different varieties of t-shirt for that one ride. It's brilliant.
And then there's there's the littler things, like they've got quite a few sort of what they call key rings that have got what they're like flight straps, I think they're called. I've already got some from like Black Mamba and things like that, but now I've got one for Desert Race and I've got one for Crake and things like that. The merchandise is extensive in some ways, but in other ways it's not extensive enough. There's no cushions. I've just thought about it. There's no ride cushions or anything like that. Cushions. But there is caps. There's caps, coats and things like that.
T-shirts, coats, body warmers, bedding sets as well. They've got bedding sets for a couple of the bigger rides, which obviously we've got them back at home as well.
But what the outlift?
They didn't have many mugs. They had enough mugs, but not enough that you could go crazy with. Yeah,
the outlay that we can take from this is the fact that the merchandise here is extensive and it's good. You're easily going to you're going to get you're going to pick something up, but you're going to be talking like €30 for a t-shirt, was it €60 for a hoodie? I didn't see anything higher than that.
No, I didn't see anything higher. I paid €50 for my jogger bottoms that I've got. Your badges are averaging anywhere between €3 and €8. They've got postcards in there, and unique to these, they've got a couple of that are essentially sticky postcards, and they're big stickers that you can stick on things.
Yeah, and something that we didn't really get a chance to see in the park is that they've got a How to Train Your Dragon area as well as a Peppa Pig world. And because of that, they've got the merchandise to do with those as well. There's a lot of tat as well. You got your standard sort of kids
squishmallows and
stuff like that,
seats and stuff like
that. And crap is what I'd call. But they also have a big Lego section, which is obviously a bit weird. But merchandise is good. Park's very good. It's well worth 2-day visit. We're kind of wondering whether we should come back again in 2 days' time when we've got a day off. But we're definitely going to be coming back because obviously Colossus was shut, which was the big draw for me. I really, really wanted to try Colossus, but
someone cried over there.
I didn't cry, but it's one of those things. Things happen. At the start of the day, Ghostbusters was showing it was going to be down, and so was Colossus, and that would have been a real sort of shame to miss those two. But they did get Ghostbusters up and running, which was nice.
The only other thing to add, if you are coming though, purchase your parking before you get to the park, because the pay booths are on the outside of the barriers, so you need a barcode that is, to say you've paid to get into the car park.
Very much like Fantasyland, you pay to come in, not to leave. That about wraps up Heide Park for us today. So next one of these will be Hansa Park, which is the crown jewel of this trip for me. Really looking forward to that one, but we'll see what tomorrow brings. So we'll see you at Hansa Park. That's us signing out from Heide Park.
Bye.